Will the Committee of the Whole Finance for Tuesday, March 10th, 2026, please come to order? Will the clerk please take the roll?
Berger.
Here.
Hines.
Here.
Maxwell.
Here.
May is absent. Reese.
Here.
Stugmeyer.
Here.
Yurchak.
Here.
And Rossbert.
Here. You've had the opportunity to review the minutes of the Committee of the Whole Finance for February 17th, 2026. May I have a motion to approve them?
I'll make that motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes for the Committee of the Whole Finance, February 17th, 2026, have been approved. At this time, we're going to ask Brian Cooper from Baker Tilly to the podium. He is our municipal advisor, and he's going to talk about 2026 bond issuance.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Brian, I can.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Kathy. All right. Good evening. Great to see everybody. My name is Brian Cooper with Baker Tilly. As Mr. Rospert said, I am the city's municipal advisor. We had a chance to talk last year on the city's issuance of notes. Thought we would come in today and talk about the issuance of bonds. The city has two ordinances before it at council. The first ordinance is a refunding ordinance, basically taking out the notes that were issued last year, and then adding a new money issue to fund approximately $12.7 million, give or take, of new money for the downtown project. So we're going to talk a little bit about the process, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have. As I mentioned, and thank you, Kathy, we're here to fund downtown design, water improvements, City Hall, Southwest parking improvements, sewer system improvements, and the downtown infrastructure project. While the City Council is approving two ordinances, the bonds will be consolidated into a single issue. So when they're sold out into the market, the investors and buyers of the bonds see one city bond issuance. But we keep track for accounting purposes and state law purposes. We keep track of each of the issuances, each of the separate funding projects. The city plans on issuing 20-year bonds that will mature in 2046, and we intend to sell these bonds via competitive sale. Next slide. As I mentioned before, the plan of finance is to fund the new improvements related to the downtown project, and also take the note issuance that we worked on last year and take that to permanent financing, which is a normal part of the financing process. The bonds will be structured as fixed rate bonds maturing starting in December of 27 through 46. Interest is payable semi-annually on June 1 and December 1. These are general obligation limited tax securities of the city. That's the city's full faith in credit. This is the highest form of credit the city can offer to the market, and what that does in return is it offers the city the lowest possible borrowing rate on these securities. We'll be borrowing at a tax-exempt rate. This is lower than a typical taxable rate. This is because of the city's governmental nature. And the current rate on these bonds, all in, including all costs, is approximately a 3.57. I summarized on page 4 the self-supporting nature, the distinction between a self-supporting nature for enterprise projects and what will be supported from income tax. This is to show you what will likely be will be supported from the general fund, about 5.8 million of these project costs, with the balance being funded by other enterprise funds, including storm, telecom, sanitary, water, and electric. Some things to keep in mind when we're considering debt, and I know we've talked about these concepts before. These are unvoted bonds. So when you issue these bonds, there's no new revenue that comes along with them. And that's why we take a look at the enterprise funds and the self-supporting nature first. and then understand that the balance of the funds will ultimately be income tax supported or other revenues, generally available revenues of the city. And balancing the city's resources between capital, operating, and debt service will remain an ongoing thing that we'll keep our eye on. We've talked about it with administration. Certainly happy to update you all on that process as well. Slide 5 is an overall picture of the debt service of the bonds as a consolidated issue. That means the single bond will fund the retirement of the notes, the $8.2 million of notes that were issued last year, plus the $12.7 million of new money for the downtown project. So it's about $19.8 million in par. This is the annual debt service. So the $29 million from 26 through 46 represents principal and interest payments due on the bonds over time. And then for discussion purposes and informational purposes mainly, pages 6, 7, 8, and 9 break up each of the purposes. So you can see, for example, what the Tolbert debt service looks like year to year, what the water fill station looks like year to year, the water meters, the streets, the storm and telecom, et cetera, related to the downtown project. So we can dive into that further if you need, but this is here for summary purposes. A quick update on the market, starting on page 10. This is the MMD, the AAA 10-year MMD. This is the interest rate. The MMD is the scale that bonds are priced off of. It's the benchmark. So you can see here, rates are, even though on this graph, 2.5% is about midway on the table. You can see we've had a period of historical lows, and then we've seen some spikes, but rates are actually trending down in January and February. We have seen in early March rates start to go up by a little bit, but overall it still remains a pretty good time to issue debt. The following page, 11, is current rates over time. So this is a yield curve. The black dotted line is where rates are currently. You can see they've actually come in quite a bit on the short end of the yield curve. That black dotted line is underneath all three of the historical lines, 3, 6, and 1 year ago. And we're basically on track to, or in the range of where interest rates have been for the past 3 months, certainly lower than they were 6 months ago, and pretty comparable to where rates were a year ago. As far as the issuance process is concerned, on page 12, the process includes authorization. This is the part we're in right now. This is where City Council authorizes the issuance of debt. Those ordinances will probably have a couple of readings before they're passed. While we're doing that and working those ordinances through council, we'll be documenting the bonds by drafting an official statement. This is a primary disclosure document that's used to sell the bonds. And we'll also be working with the rating agency to secure a rating on the bonds. The city has a great rating and has very strong, its financial strength currently is strong, so we would expect maintaining the AA+ rating by S&P Global. And after we've completed those 3 steps, then we'll move to the pricing and closing, where the bonds are marketed and purchased by the highest bidder. And after that, there's about a 2-week process to close and fund the bonds. There's a rough schedule of events here on page 13. I won't go through all the details, but we'll be meeting regularly with city administration to shepherd this through the closing process, and would expect a late May closing for the bonds. So I'll pause there, and happy to have a discussion or answer questions.
Could you speak a little bit to what do you think would What would typically happen to our rating after this debt issuance?
So when we go to the rating agency for a rating, they assess and evaluate and assign not only a rating to the bonds themselves, but the city as an issuer. We've done an analysis. I'm happy to share it with council if you'd like to see. But the rating agencies look at your economic score, which is basically your local economy. They look at your financial score. They look at your debt profile, and then they look at your management. And they consider all three of those or four of those categories. And when we apply for the rating, when you issue the debt in advance of and after the bonds are rated, I would expect that the city would maintain its current rating on the bonds.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
What occurs with all the things going on across the world right now, and we see rates go skyrocketing? What do we do then?
Yeah. Well, a couple things. First off, we had an extraordinary January and February in terms of interest rates, with rates moving down, which means prices are moving up. And now with the current events, we've started to see the market back up and rates start to go up. So, for example, the rates have gone up 10 to 15 basis points on the MMD, which is our benchmark. So if our bonds right now are at a 357, that would mean if the rates went up 10 basis points, that means we might get the deal done at a 367 or a 380. So 10 to 20 basis points. This deal, the cost per basis point is about $15,000. So, and that's a present value. That's not an annual payment. That's a present value of how much 1 basis point costs you per change in rate. So if rates go up 10 basis points, that's $150,000 of total increased cost for almost $20 million of bonds. So we're very sensitive to that. What the city does is authorize the issuance, but it does not compel you to do the issuance. It delegates that function then to the auditor's office. And so if the auditor's office, so for example, if rates go up 100 basis points, then we're going to reevaluate. Before we go and sell the bonds, we're going to have a talk with the auditor's office. She's probably going to consult the mayor's office, the city council, and figure out, hey, is this something we really want to do? So basically, the ordinances delegate that decision-making authority to the auditor's office, and then we'll work with the auditor's office to make sure that everything works out. And if there's big material changes, we'll come back and talk to you about it in advance.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other questions?
I'm just I'm looking at numbers and just trying to figure this out. So on page 5, excuse me, page 4. Let's actually jump back to page 4. So I'm looking at the total, the 12,786, so the 12.7 million, plus the 1,025,000. That comes out to 13,811, 982 if my beer math is correct here. Then I'm looking at the ordinances that we have in front of us, and I want to make sure I understand this correctly. So we have one ordinance for 14,844, but we've also got the other 1.55. So I'm trying to figure out what's the actual number, and maybe
Yep.
we can...
Yeah, there's more than one number.
Okay.
So the ordinance authorizes 14.8 million of new money debt for the downtown project, okay?
Okay.
This is a not to exceed amount. This is called a parameters resolution. So basically the ordinance authorizes the issuance of debt within certain parameters. So the maximum that these bonds could be issued is 14.8. But in working with Matt, the current budget of those costs is only 12.7. So we're we're getting authorization to issue more than we need. And the reason we're getting that is because the construction planning process has not concluded. So so the 12.7 million, these are preliminary estimates. Once we get bids back, we'll know exactly how much those bids are. If they're higher, we have some wiggle room on the debt ordinances. But if the city determines, hey, we're going to keep it at 12.7, we're going to fund the overages from cash, we have that flexibility. So all it does is it gives us some working room during, we're getting authorization now, but we're not selling these till May. So it gives us some wiggle room to adjust as needed. And I would think that that adjustment will be done in consultation with Matt's office and Kathy's office and working from final budget numbers.
So one more question, new guy here, don't know the answer, I'm going to ask. Have we ever been in a situation where a debt service wouldn't last 20 years? So could we accelerate and pay it off sooner if we wanted to?
So these bonds, maybe with one exception, all the city's bonds have been issued with what is called an optional redemption feature. This is a right that the city has to pay off or refinance the bonds in the future at a future date. Typically, Mr. Maxwell, it's 10 years. So our current analysis shows these bonds, I have a lot of paperwork here, with an optional redemption date of December 1/35. We can do a shorter redemption date, but it usually costs the city some extra money to do that.
Okay.
But in many instances, if not all instances, the city does have the right to pay off the bonds early, in this case 2035, so 10 years, or refinance at a lower rate.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yep, you're welcome.
I'd like to ask Ms. Fix what she thinks. What is your recommendation?
Regarding this issuance? Well, as Mr. Cooper stated, we work with Squire Patton Boggs on the legal side, and Mr. Cooper advises us on the best way to finance the deal. And I mean, you all will approve the contract. So if the contract comes in higher than the current stated amount, I show 12.8 million, then you all decide, like he stated, you can either, if there's an excess, do you fund it with debt, or do you use cash, or do you cut certain parts of the project? So those are decisions that will be made later. Is that what you were referring to? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions for Mr. Cooper or anybody in the administration? Mr. Cooper, thank you very much for your presentation. I think it was helpful for everybody to get a better handle on everything that we've been going through.
You're welcome. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to follow up with Kathy, and we'll answer any other questions. If you'd like to have me back after the sale and to describe how we turned out, I'm happy to do that. And if something changes, radically, we'll be sure to come back to council and give you a briefing.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Let's move into our draft legislation for tonight. We'll begin with the first item, directing the city administration to prepare and plan to collect delinquent utility accounts that have progressed beyond the point of service shutoff. Mr. Testa, is that?
Yeah, that resolution is
I'm sorry.
Someone on council put that resolution.
Oh, okay.
This was just so this came up a few weeks ago, and is an issue that you guys had identified that we wanted to jump on just to make the public feel better about that we've identified the problem, we're putting a plan in place to take care of that for the future. This also gives us, or gives the administration, the ability to, look at the debt, past debt, and determine what needs written off so it doesn't keep showing up down, 10, 20 years down the line, and try to collect on delinquent payments. I mean, you see, it's pretty straightforward. It does give you 30 days to address it. And I wanted to make sure you guys had enough time to get any information that you needed to gather to present it to council. Do you guys have any questions for me? Or?
No?
Okay. Since it does give you 30 days, my recommendation was just to suspend and call it.
That'll be resolution number 25-01.
And then a resolution to accept the recommendations of the Tax Incentive Review Council for 2025.
I think, Mr. President, every year the Tax Incentive Review Council goes over the terms and contracts of our partner corporations that have taken advantage of this program. Just basic summary is if they make significant capital investments and they're part of the CRA, that district, then they're eligible to request for a percentage of tax abatement on the increased value. How much they invest is the percentage number typically, and how much promised jobs and how much promised additional payroll is the number of years. So we have an obligation to make sure that they're hitting their numbers so that we can go forward and continue it. So every year we come back to you with the recommendations of that TURC. The TURC did meet and had some recommendations. We went through everybody. 10 of them passed, some with flying colors, some more than doubled the payroll that they are producing. So that's very good. But we had 2 that fell a little short of where we wanted them to be. One of them was Roar. Roar went through a downturn. I talked to their HR over that, and towards the end of 2025, they were down a significant number of employees. They were down 30 employees. They, since 2026, have turned it around and have started hiring back some of those. So they were unsuccessful in completing the terms of this year. The recommendation of the TURC was that we reduce the years from the total of 15 down to 14 years, but do it at the end. We want to promote growth of our corporations. We don't want to kick them when they're down. So as they're making that turnaround, we don't want to add that additional costs, because they certainly did make a significant investment in our community. That was the first recommendation of the TURC, is just to continue it, but reduce it by 1 year. The second one, there's ECS Tuning, has 2 of them. The second one, it was the question, the first one they had met. We have some questions with the numbers, whether or not they're accurate in their reflection. So I have a meeting with their CEO and their accounts or their accounting department tomorrow. Given that, I would recommend that we start with first reading now, that we take care of it with the second reading next week, and hopefully we can waive the readings at that point, because we do have an obligation to get this to the state of Ohio by the end of this month.
Questions, comments? Mr. Maxwell, would you take that and move it to second reading?
Mr. President, do I have to abstain from that?
I'm sorry, yes. I forgot you were involved in that. Ms. Hines, would you take that?
Yes.
Yep.
That'll be resolution 2602.
Yeah. Okay. Ordinance number, the next one would be an ordinance to authorize the drawing of a warrant in the amount not to exceed $6,414.70 for the payment of the amount due upon contract with Santmeyer Energy and
Yep. Thank you, Mr. President. In early December, we received a bill from Santmeyer for various fluids, engine oil, transmission oil, hydraulic oil, and we did have a purchase order in place at that time, but what happened is the bill was not paid until February of this year, and by that time, our 2025 purchase order basically ended with the year. I think what happened here is that our admin assistant for this department retired at the end of December, and as we were putting somebody in place, I think it just fell through the cracks.
Okay. So that is a bill that is due, has been due.
It has not been paid at this
Okay.
time. We can't pay it without the warrant.
Okay, but it's past due at this point, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Berger, would you take that, and I would like to have you suspend and call that so we can pay our bills?
You got it.
That'll be ordinance 26-040.
Okay, the next ordinance is providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum aggregate principal amount of $8,020,000 for the purpose of paying the costs of various infrastructure projects and declaring an emergency. Who would like to? Anybody wanted to speak to that?
Well, I can speak to that. As Mr. Cooper presented, these were notes, 2-year notes that we put in place last year to finance the projects that he described. Those are now being taken out, basically refunded, will be combined with the next ordinance, $14,844,000 for the total bond issuance. That will be a 20-year term.
So your check, would you want to take that? And what would you like to do with that?
We can put that on second.
Yes, this can go 3 readings.
26-041.
And then the next ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $14,844,000 for the purpose of paying the costs of the downtown improvement project.
So that's the notes from last year and then the new.
The $14,844,000 is a new issuance to cover the downtown project.
Okay, Mr. Yurcheck, do you want
Yep.
to take that?
Can put that on second.
And we'll move that to second reading.
That'll be 26-042.
Now, our addendum to our meeting tonight. The next ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to apply for and accept and enter into a water supply revolving loan account agreement on behalf of the City of Wadsworth for planning design and/or construction of the Donna Drive water line replacement project and designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan.
Matt, you. Thank you, Mr. President. This item, as well as the next 5 items, are legislation to allow us to seek funding from the state for a variety of projects. In particular, 5 of these relate to funds from the Water Supply Revolving Loan Fund. The last one is from basically the wastewater or the Water Pollution Revolving Loan Fund. This particular item is related to the repairs at Donna Drive. We've had some issues with the water line there in the past, and this project would essentially replace a section of that.
Mr. Stugmeyer?
Yeah, well, this one, along with all the other ones on here, we met earlier in service just before the meeting here today, and we will move all these recommendations for 2 readings. So this one, along with all the other 6 here that he'll describe, will all go to a second reading.
Okay, if you'll take that and move it to second, and
Will
then
do.
the following ordinance is,
Is that 43?
That'll be 26-043.
Thank you.
the next one goes in conjunction with that to enter into a water supply revolving loan account agreement on behalf of the city, design and construction of the lead service verification phase 2 project. So you want to take that also, Mr. Stugmeyer, move that to second?
Same thing, we'll move that, 044, we'll move that to second.
Yep.
Okay.
26-044.
And the next one is to enter into a water supply revolving loan account agreement on behalf of the city for the airport water looping phase project, Phase 2 project. Mr. Berger, would you take that?
Sure.
And we'll move that to second reading also.
And this is the phase where we're going under 57 to complete it. We did the first phase when we did the other portion over there, so we didn't have to dig it up twice. This is kind of the complete phase where we're going under 57 with it.
And again, water supply, I'm sorry, so the next one would be, again, a water supply revolving loan account agreement for the city for construction of the new low-side water tower project. And, Mr. Berger, I'll have you take that also, and I guess move that to second also.
That's 26046.
And again, the water supply revolving loan account agreement on behalf of the city for planning and design and construction of the Good Avenue water line replacement. Mr. Maxwell.
I'll take that.
26047.
And then the last one, authorizing the Director of Public Service to apply for and accept and enter into a water pollution control loan fund agreement on behalf of the city for planning, design, and/or construction of the smoke and dye testing areas 6 and 8 project.
This is the same thing. This is a continuation of the SSO program that we're going through. This is just doing that dye check for the next two areas that we're working on, 6 and 8.
Mr. Maxwell, would you take that and move that on to second?
Yes, sir.
26048.
Okay. On to our regular agenda. Regular agenda review. Ordinance number 26-030. Mr. Maxwell, what would you like to do with that?
I guess, are we going to suspend and call that tonight? Okay, we'll suspend and call.
And then ordinance number 2631 on second reading. Mr. Maxwell?
I'm assuming we're going to suspend and call that one as well?
That could go to third reading.
Could go to third? Oops, sorry, I missed that. Yep, thank you.
Okay.
We'll go to third reading.
And then 2632, Mr. Stugmeyer?
Yeah, for the tree trimming, we'll go ahead and suspend and call that this evening.
2633, Mr. Berger?
We'll suspend and call that.
2635, Ms. Hines?
I'll move it to third.
We did get the lawyer did review that. That's what we're waiting for. They are issuing bonds at the end of the month for it. So we are meeting next week, I believe, too. So as long as we have a quorum, that's not a problem. But I just wanted you to be aware that the lawyer has met, and if you were of such inclination, they would appreciate suspending and calling. But
Wait, okay, I can suspend.
Ordinance number 2636, that was previously sponsored by Councilmember May, on second reading to rezone dual jurisdiction lots 10232 and 10235 to Shadow Creek Planned Unit Development. Mr. Reese, would you want to take that?
Yeah, I'll take that.
And
We're going to put that on third?
There's a public hearing in April, so we would have to.
Yep.
Yeah, we have to. All right.
And on second reading, 2637, receive bids and enter a contract for street sweeping. Mr. Reese?
We'll go to the third reading on that.
And then 2639, Mr. Yurcheck, and that is the ordinance to make a supplemental appropriation of $1.55 million in the 425 General Capital Improvements Fund
Mr. Hiscock, do you have anything you want? I'll move that to third. Any updates or any?
I can report to council that, we've heard loud and clear the discussion about concerns with the amount of debt. I think we've worked hard to identify as much cash reserve dollars that are available to put towards the project. I would tell you that we were talking about maybe splitting this 750 from cash and 750 in debt. I think we've actually come up with about 1.9 million in cash that we can contribute towards the project. So that is our plan. That's what we've adapted into not only the funding plan moving forward, but into the ordinances that are before you in terms of some of the debt issuance and all those items. So again, we're looking at potentially about 1.9, almost $2 million worth of cash, and the rest being debt issuance at this point in time. And again, I think it's important to note that we're basing these numbers on our estimates at this point in time. We're working also through a process to get a CMAR involved. That CMAR will also do a cost analysis process. And so my hope is that we'll be able to report to council before we actually go to the point of sale that Mr. Cooper referred to in May, and have some really better numbers and hopefully lower numbers to understand what the debt issuance might be.
Can you highlight where we were able to come up with roughly 1.9?
Sure. So we identified reserves that were available to contribute in the form of cash to the project in a couple of funds. Primarily, they coming from the 471 fund. That's a roadway-based fund, as well as the 425 and 431 sub-funds, which are the general capital fund, funds from the general fund, but in the capital form, 425 and 431.
Could you say that again a little louder?
Sure. So the areas in which we identified potential cash reserves to use for the project included the 471 fund, as well as the 425 fund. Within the 425 fund, there's a sub-fund called 431. So both of those areas had cash reserves that once we evaluated, we believe we can contribute towards the project.
Is there anything from those funds that we would be not using our money on to move it towards the downtown project?
No, they're not currently identified for expenditures that we're going to not do as a result of moving the funds through there. Obviously, we would have looked at those funds and evaluated them during the budget process to determine if there are other projects that might need cash influences, but they're not spoken for, so to speak, at this point in time.
Mr. Hiscock, I know that you had a note, and thank you again for your wrap-up that you always give us. We love it. Sure. It takes a while to read them, and you put a lot of time and effort into it, and we appreciate that. I would just draw attention to the Quadrille Drive piece, and I know that's a reconstruction. I know there's some discussion about that right now. Moving the money out of the roadway fund over to this project, how does those two kind of collate?
Sure, it's an excellent question. Mr. Maxwell, the Quadrille Drive and the needs of Quadrille Drive have been well documented, and we are actively engaged in the process of determining how to fund the repair or reconstruction or modernization of that particular road. In fact, we spent a lot of time exploring some federal earmarks recently for that. We'll also be submitting some capital grant requests to the state this week in regards to that project, but there are no guarantees there. So the monies that we have identified to put towards the downtown project in terms of roadway improvements could have been or potentially could be used for roadway improvements anywhere in the city, if you will. So yes, that is a competing project potentially, and we could use funding for that route. I will tell you, the Quadrille Drive project is coming in much more expensive at a costing stage than we had anticipated or even known. We're looking at potentially a $3 to $4 million reconstruction project out there on Quadrille Drive. Something that is not programmed in our capital planning, something that hasn't really been a part of an analysis, but certainly something that in more recent months we've been paying a lot of attention to and trying to get our head wrapped around what it's going to take to repair that roadway.
Larger projects like the Quadrille Drive improvement project. Is there any way we can leverage the CMAR that would be doing downtown when we figure that out? Because it looks they're probably experienced in street tear up. Can we leverage something since you're down here working? Can you look at Quadrille Drive too?
I want to get one
Something
free.
like that, you know, would we leverage, we have someone down here already doing something.
Like add it,
Can we-
adding it?
I don't know about adding it or something like that, but can we examine something like that where maybe we can leverage and get some dollars reduced by
Mr. Berger, it's an excellent question. We always attempt to leverage relationships to make sure that we can either modify scopes of projects or have them interested in a separate project with that. I think, quite honestly, there's a difference in time frame between the downtown project and the Quadrille Drive project getting kicked off. So that might not work to our advantage in that realm. Certainly a CMAR and the experience we have with the CMAR, if we move forward with the CMAR and the downtown project, will make us eligible to say, hey, we're looking at a CMAR process to deliver the Quadrille Drive project. We'd like you to be interested in that too if we go there. I also think we have challenges in terms of scope. It's not often, in fact, I don't believe I would feel comfortable in adding scope in the terms of $4 million to a project without your folks' input, authority, and a full process in that. We may not be able to leverage the savings in a procurement process by just saying, hey, this CMAR's here, they're in town, they're motivated and interested, let's provide them with a project that's an additional $4 million and not really centered on the core of our downtown. So it's something we always try to explore, and we do that in everything in terms of street improvement programs, other projects. I just think these two particular projects don't mesh well for that type of scope enhancement or even long-term savings in terms of seeing them both through that way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. What's your check? I'm going to throw it back to you. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I'll move it to third.
Move it to third.
You know, I would ask council's consideration. We've had this on for a little bit. I know we are meeting next week, but again, the provision of clarity for the design team. I know we have several meetings with design teams planned in the next 5 days, and so any consideration you might give to voting on this sooner rather than later would be appreciated. In the end of the day, going another week's not gonna cause too much of an issue, but we've been waiting, consultants have been waiting, we've been doing our best to push forward as best as we can. We're almost moving to the next step, which is the debt issuance step. So I would ask your consideration in that regard.
I'm not ready to vote yet.
Yeah,
My final decision.
I think I would just want to go one more week, so I think we'll have all members of council on next Tuesday.
That's fine. All right. Any other business from administration? Anything else from council?
I have something.
Yes.
I have been talking with some of the downtown business owners. They've called me and messaged me with some of their concerns, so I just wanted to address them here. One of the concern they had was with I know we don't really know when we're starting yet, but that they get adequate notice ahead of time. I think some of them said that when you started the southwest parking lot, there wasn't really much time to prepare for that. They got a notice and they kind of started pretty quickly. It's just what I've been told. So we were hoping that maybe once you do kind of finalize things with the downtown project, that a timeline of what will be done, when could be sent to those businesses so that they can prepare as quickly as possible. If they have to, get back doors open or something to get people in while the things are, construction's going down. Another concern that they had was also with the timeline that, they're concerned that they're going to get torn up during the holiday season, which is kind of like their time to shine where they're making all their money, and it would be really detrimental to their business if, come September, the front of their stores are getting tore up. So I think that's another concern. If there's a lot of businesses, and I see a lot of business owners out here today, from Main Street that are retail that will really will affect them because they rely on that foot traffic. So just a concern that they had, and maybe also adding wayfinding, temporary wayfinding for the off-road parking lots during that, each phase of construction. So if somebody's coming down to visit, a restaurant or store, that they know where to park if they can't park right in front.
I'd be happy to speak to a couple of those items if you'd
Please do.
like. So one of the challenges of this particular project that was identified very early on in the process was selecting a construction company that is really good at communicating. I smirk because having done work with construction companies before, that's usually not their expertise. But one of the things we need to do and what we've identified is because of the nature of the impacts to our small businesses in our downtown, that is vitally important. And we've even stressed that at consultant meetings with design teams. We've even gotten engaged with a PR team already that's going to help us communicate with our downtown businesses. A big part of that communication part of this project, which is so important to us, is that during the project, there not only needs to be stakeholder business communication, but there needs to be customer-oriented communication. And so part of the process as we envision it today is making sure that some of the things that you identified, Mr. Reese, and some of the things that I'm sure business owners are concerned about is things like making sure that accessibility to the front doors of businesses is ever present in terms of a priority, and that is going to be a priority. Making sure that, there will be times where there'll be closures, can we schedule those closures around some of the businesses as best as we can? And so those are going to be priorities in terms of the phasing. We've talked about phasing of the projects and what we do. So those are important. I don't want to be naive and sit here and say that there won't be problems and there won't be issues. Any of us who've been involved with construction projects that know that things happen, weather occurs, overly diligent operators get involved. Things happen in those regards, but we're going to work very hard to make sure that prior notice is provided to businesses, that constant signage, whether it be temporary or permanent, is in place, that access to businesses is maintained. With that all, there's going to be inconvenience to customer base, there's going to be inconveniences to deliveries, there's going to be inconveniences to businesses. One of the things that will be coming up is once we select a CMAR in the process, we will schedule a stakeholder meeting which will include business owners as well as council to meet that CMAR team along with our consultant team and review the timeline and schedule of constructions as we understand it. You have to understand that things happen and things change, but we want to have that meeting up front and early in the process once we have a schedule identified. There is an issue that I want to make sure that I note at this point in time with one of the comments that you made, Mr. East, that's coming from the businesses, and I'm happy to stay afterwards and try to explain more. At some point in time, we need to provide the selected contractor, a CMAR team, with the job site. And it is up to them to determine the means and methods in which they perform their work on the project. What does that mean? It means we lose some control at some point in terms of how they go about performing their work. And if we don't do that, if we tell them, and no one's asked this, but let me just play a scenario out here. If we tell them, we need you to stop working November 15th and don't do any work in this quadrant of downtown until the spring of '27. We're probably in violation of the contract with them because we're causing them delay damages. We're probably going to cost taxpayers, all of us, more money on the project. We're probably not going to be within the project budget as council you will approve to move forward. So at some point in time, we have to provide them with the job site and they have to have the ability to do their work. No one's going to agree to do this project unless they get that. However, we will have the opportunity to make sure that they stick to timelines, make sure that they make access available, make sure that they lessen impacts as much as a construction project can do on the businesses. I just don't want to sit here and smokescreen anyone to say, we're going to be able to tell they can't do work during Christmas time in your area. Now, at some point in time, we all know Northeast Ohio weather, they're going to stop working. They won't be able to do some of the work. But we've also made a conscious effort with this project, and a little bit of why we've pushed in some of the funding areas and had some of the meetings we've had to date is because we don't want a project that we hope will be 18 months to end up being to be 2.5 years. Because the duration of interference with your businesses, the duration of interference to our downtown, the duration of interference to our community is going to not only cost inconvenience and dollars, but it's going to extend the duration of aggravation for all of us in this issue. In addition, when a CMAR or a construction company gets involved in our project, they have a profit margin, like all of us would if we were running those businesses. And that profit margin is determined by how soon they can get in and how soon they can complete the work and how soon they can get out. And so I just share that with you all. Many of you probably understood all of the things I just said, but those are some of the things that we all have to work and manage through this process. And I am sure that there will be bumps in the road, and I am not naive to think that there won't be complications when this projects get going. There's too many property owners, too many businesses at stake, too many utilities that we haven't opened the ground to see yet in what condition they are, too many unknowns. Now, we try to measure all those out and flatten those out. We hope we pick the right contractor in CMAR to do the work to help us through those processes. But there are challenges in this type of project.
Cool. Thank you, Mr. Hiscock.
Sure.
Anything else? Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
We are adjourned, and we will re-adjourn in 7 minutes.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.
Good evening. Will the regular meeting of Wadsworth City Council for Tuesday, March 10th, 2026, please come to order? Will you please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invitation?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty God, who has given us this good land to be our heritage, we acknowledge our dependence on you for all things, and we thank you for all your blessings, including the right and privilege to govern ourselves in this free land. We pray that you would grant us all wisdom to make good decisions for the future of this community. Through Christ our Lord we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Berger?
Here.
Hines?
Here.
Maxwell?
Here.
May is absent. Reese?
Here.
Stugmeyer?
Here.
Yurchak?
Here.
And Rossbert.
Here. You've had the opportunity to review the minutes of the regular council meeting of February 17, 2026. May I have a motion to approve them?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes of the regular City Council meeting of February 17, 2026 have been approved. All right, let's move into our visitors, and I would like to first off welcome Mr. Russ from the Gazette. I think it's your first time covering our meeting, so thank you for being here. If there are other visitors that would like to address the council, we ask that you step up to the microphone, state your name and address, and we will give you 2 to 3 minutes to make any comments you would like.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. Sarah Richards. I'm a resident and a business owner at 138 Main Street, Quaint. I wanted to talk about the infrastructure project. So, Mr. Hiskach, thank you so much for that update earlier today. That was very valuable that you shared with us, you know, what's going on. My bigger questions just coming out of that update is, will you be using the placer data to feed into that schedule? So trying to map out the different quadrants and not only first, second, third, the sequence of events that need to occur for the infrastructure project, but how can we protect our downtown businesses as well, considering that as criteria for mapping out the schedule of the quadrants. Megan Harvey from Main Street Wadsworth does have access to some valuable data. Is that correct, Tom?
Yeah, correct, yes.
That could tell you about foot traffic. And I'm also willing to give you volume for my business, if that would help you as well. So again, I know it's going to be hard to protect the holiday season for the retail and also restaurant businesses. But if you could just consider that, that would be wonderful. Secondly, would like to just know what to expect as far as communications. Who is it that we'll be hearing from? Would be nice to know. And again, if you could predict when we'll start hearing communications and on what frequency. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Deneen Cruiser. I own Uniquely Handmade for You at 136 Main Street, and I also own the building at 136 Main Street. I have a couple concerns, as Sarah stated, about notification. When the back parking lot was being done, we were sent an email, and not even all of us were sent an email, on Monday night at 6:20 that work was starting on Wednesday. That's not a lot of notice, and one of my concerns is that we are already like approaching mid-March, and I know this is supposed to start sometime in spring, and we just talked to the mayor about this also, that this is supposed to be starting in you know, the springtime. Well, we're already like fast approaching spring. We have no information. Our marketing has to change for what we do to get the people in. I mean, we have so much that we have to plan out, but we have no way of planning out anything without knowing what's going on. Also, and I understand, and thank you, Matt, also for the update. I understand that we can't, and no, I don't think anybody is saying halt the construction work being done, because we want it done as quickly as possible also. What we're asking is if during the holiday season, if it can concentrate more in the quadrants that have less retail and restaurants. There's a lot of areas, well, not a lot of areas, but there's two particular areas, quadrants, that have more insurance companies. There's hardly any retail or anything like that. They would be less impacted. And plus, they don't have like really that much in front of their store parking. It's easier accessible, and their patrons are already used to like walking and what have you, and not have to make a big change. For us, you know, Christmas season is so important because the first and second quarters of the year are very slow. So our Christmas season carries us over. If we don't have a good Christmas season, there's a lot of businesses that could go out of business. So we just want you to be aware of that. And then I have one more thing, and and this has nothing to do with the infrastructure or anything like that, but there has been a gentleman, I'm not sure if he's homeless or what, that has been around downtown, and I had a couple customers who were very scared by him today. He was doing very weird things. They came in, they've told me, I was standing outside, I had somebody that lives in the apartments come and tell me that he was trying to say something to her and her kids, very scared. I know Sarah had an incident with this gentleman, and she actually called the police and had the police walk her to her car. So, I mean, I don't know if there's some help that we can give this gentleman or what have you, but if we could get him away, that would be great.
All right.
So, and then the other
Got
thing.
30 seconds, I hate to do that.
30 seconds?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, parking. We have a new venue that has 900 seating. Do we have any plans whatsoever of increasing parking downtown? And I think that's my 30 seconds.
Okay.
I'm Dawn Lynch, and I own the business Urban Cottage at 122 Main Street. They voiced most of my concerns. Just was concerned mostly with communication, so we can attend the meetings and be aware of what's going on as quick as possible. That would be great. But I think everything else, I think they had voiced my concerns that I was worried about. So thank you.
Anybody else?
Ronnie Kemmer at Cambria's, 132 Main Street. I think the ladies really hit on everything I kind of wanted to have concerns with you today, and my husband. The parking is a concern, as Deneen said. I love the venue across the street. It has done wonders for the business, but we do find an issue still with parking. As far as the infrastructure, we took over and made Cambria's a thing for us March 20th of 2024. So we are still in the newborn stage of our business. So to say we are very concerned about October, November, and December this year, putting a huge strain on Cambria's is to say the least, because we are really nervous about that. October, November, and December are very high revenue months for us. At least 30% increase over the rest of the spring and summer. January and February this year, we were very blessed because of the venue across the street to have higher revenue than last year or even the year before as Unwind. So to keep this short, yes, we are concerned with those months, and if there's anything we can do, show you our numbers, or anything we can do being at meetings, to show our concerns with those in charge. We would like to be a part of that. I've had serious concerns that if we do not make it through October, November, and December, 3 months for a business as new as ours could shut our doors. And I don't want that to happen. We love Wadsworth. We love downtown, but relocating may not be, anything but an option for us at that point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to address council or the administration? Is there any correspondence?
Yes, Mr. President. I received from the city auditor a warrant regarding Santa Meyer Energy Incorporated in the amount of $6,414.70. Also a fiscal officer certificate and a supplemental fiscal officer certificate.
Thank you. Let's move on to committee and commission reports. The regular city council is meeting right now. Council of the whole met earlier tonight at 6 o'clock. There is a public hearing scheduled regarding ordinance number 26036, a zoning district classification, on Tuesday, April 7th at 6:30 here in council chambers. Mr. Stugmeyer, public service update.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Service met just prior to this meeting this evening, and we will next meet on April the 14th. We'll have a new time from now on. Our meeting will be at 5 p.m. instead of 5:30. So next meeting, April 14th at 5 p.m. here in council chambers.
Thank you. Public Safety, Mr. Yurcheck.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Safety will meet tomorrow evening, or tomorrow late afternoon, 4:45 PM here in council chambers.
Mr. Maxwell, Public Ways.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Ways actually met on Monday of this week in council chambers, and we will meet next on April 13th, 2026 at 6 PM in council chambers.
Ms. Hines, Economic Development and Planning, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Economic Development and Planning will meet Monday, April 13th at 5 PM here in council chambers.
The Audit Committee will meet Thursday, May 28th at 1 PM in the Administration Conference Room. Committee of the Whole again met this evening, and we will meet next Tuesday also at the same time at 6 o'clock. Moving on to our commissions, Mr. Reese, the Airport Commission.
Thank you, Mr. President. Airport Commission will next meet Thursday, April 16th at 4 p.m. in council chambers.
And Mr. Stugmeyer, if you want to update us on stormwater, since
Yeah, the
Councilmember Mays.
Stormwater Commission will next meet on April the 14th. It always met prior to service, so the new time for that will be 4:30 moving on.
Okay. So, Shade Tree Commission, Ms. Hines.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Shade Tree Commission will meet Tuesday, April 28th at 5 PM here in council chambers.
Cemetery Board, Mr. Maxwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Cemetery Board had a special meeting this afternoon at 4 p.m. at the cemetery. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, March 18th at 5 p.m. in council chambers.
Cable TV Commission, Mr. Berger.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Cable TV Commission will meet Thursday, April 2nd at 4 p.m. in council chambers.
And then the Senior Citizens Commission, Mr. Stugmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senior Citizens Commission will meet on Monday, April the 6th, 3:30 p.m., and that meeting is held at the Suprema Senior Center.
All right, we will move on to our legislation for this evening.
Okay, we're going to start with our first readings. There is a correction on this first resolution. It should be resolution number 26-01. And another correction is going to be sponsored by Councilmember Mike Reese. It was discussed at Committee of the Whole. On first reading, Resolution 26-01, a resolution directing the city administration to prepare a plan to collect delinquent utility accounts that have progressed beyond the point of service shutoff.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend the three reading rule on resolution number 26-01.
Is there a second?
Second.
Hines?
Yes.
May? Oh, sorry, she's absent. Yurcheck?
Yes.
Maxwell?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
Stugmeyer?
Yes.
And Reese?
Yes.
Hearing no objection to Ms.
He's got it. He just suspended it.
Mr. President, I called a question on resolution number 26-01.
Hearing no objection to Mr. Reese's, Councilmember Reese's proposal to call the question, will the clerk please take a roll call vote on the adoption of Resolution 26-01?
Yurcheck?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
Maxwell?
Yes.
Stugmeyer?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
And Hines?
Yes.
Resolution 26-01 has been adopted.
Resolution number 26-02 on first reading. Another correction. It is sponsored by Councilmember Jeannie Hines and was discussed at Committee of the Whole. A resolution to accept the recommendations of the Tax Incentive Review Council for 2025 and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I move that we place resolution number 26-02 on second reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
That was
Resolution number 26-02 has been placed on second reading.
Ordinance number 26-040 on first reading, sponsored by Councilmember Zach Berger and discussed at Committee of the Whole. An ordinance to authorize the drawing of a warrant in an amount not to exceed $6,414.70 for the payment of the amount due upon a contract with Santmeyer Energy Incorporated and to declare an emergency.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend the three reading rule on ordinance number 26-040.
Second.
Yurcheck?
Yes.
Maxwell?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
Stugmeyer?
Yes.
Hines?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Mr. President, I call the question on ordinance number 26-040.
Hearing no objection to Councilmember Berger's proposal to call the question, will the clerk please take a roll call vote on the adoption of ordinance number 26040.
Reese.
Yes.
Hines.
Yes.
Stugmeyer.
Yes.
Yuracek.
Yes.
Maxwell.
Yes.
And Berger.
Yes.
Ordinance number 26-040 has been adopted.
Ordinance number 26-041 on first reading, sponsored by Councilmember John Yuracek and discussed at Committee of the Whole. An ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum aggregate principal amount of $8,020,000 for the purpose of paying the cost of various purpose infrastructure projects and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I move that we place ordinance number 26-041 on second reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Ordinance number 26041 has been placed on second reading.
Ordinance number 26-042 on first reading, sponsored by Councilmember John Yuracek and discussed at Committee of the Whole. An ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $14,844,000 for the purpose of paying the cost of the downtown improvement project and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I move that we place ordinance number 26-042 on second reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Ordinance number 26-042 has been placed on second reading.
Ordinance number 26-043 on first reading, sponsored by Councilmember Tom Stugmeyer, discussed at Public Service. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to apply for, accept, and enter into a water supply revolving loan account agreement on behalf of the City of Wadsworth for planning, design, and/or construction of the Donna Drive water line replacement project and designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I make a motion to move ordinance number 26-043 to second reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Ordinance number 26-043 has been placed on second reading.
Ordinance number 26-044 on first reading, sponsored by Councilmember Tom Stugmeyer, discussed at Public Service. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to apply for, accept, and enter into a water supply revolving loan account agreement on behalf of the City of Wadsworth for planning, design, and/or construction of the lead service verification Phase 2 project and designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I make a motion to move ordinance number 26-044 to second reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Ordinance number 26-044 has been placed on second reading.
Ordinance number 26-045 on first reading, sponsored by Councilmember Zach Berger and discussed at Public Service. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to apply for, accept, and enter into a water supply revolving loan account agreement on behalf of the City of Wadsworth for planning, design, and/or construction of the airport water looping Phase 2 project and designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I move that we place ordinance number 26-045 on second reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Ordinance number 26-045 has been placed on second reading.
Ordinance number 26-046 on first reading, sponsored by Councilmember Zach Berger and discussed at Public Service. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to apply for, accept, and enter into a water supply revolving loan account agreement on behalf of the City of Wadsworth for planning, design, and/or construction of the new low-side water tower project and designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I move that we place ordinance number 26-046 on second read.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Ordinance number 26-046 has been placed on second reading.
Ordinance number 26-047 on first reading, sponsored by Councilmember Chris Maxwell and discussed at Public Service. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to apply for, accept, and enter into a water supply revolving loan account agreement on behalf of the City of Wadsworth for planning, design, and/or construction of the Good Avenue water line replacement project and designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I move that we place ordinance number 26-047 on second reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Ordinance number 26-047 has been placed on second reading.
Ordinance number 26-048 on first reading, sponsored by Councilmember Chris Maxwell and discussed at Public Service. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to apply for, accept, and enter into a water pollution control loan fund agreement on behalf of the City of Wadsworth for planning, design, and/or construction of the smoke and dye testing areas 6 and 8 project, and designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I move that we place ordinance number 26-048 on second reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Ordinance number 26-048 has been placed on second reading.
And we'll move to second readings. We have ordinance number 26-030 on second reading. There is another correction. No, I'm sorry, not a correction. Sponsored by Councilmember Chris Maxwell and discussed at Public Ways. An ordinance levying special assessments for the replacement, or construction of certain sidewalks and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I would call the question on ordinance number 26-030.
Can't ask the question.
Oh, suspend and call, I'm sorry, on 26-030.
We need to suspend the 3 reading.
You have to suspend the 3 reading rule.
Oh, I would like, excuse me, my apologies.
Second reading,
Yeah, we are suspending the second reading and suspending and calling. 26-030, correct? That's what we're doing?
Yep.
Gosh, sorry. Mr. President, I move that we suspend the 3 reading rule on ordinance number 26-030.
Second.
Roll call. Reese?
Yes.
Yuracek?
Yes.
Maxwell?
Yes.
Stugmeyer?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
And Hines.
Yes.
Mr. President, I call the question on ordinance number 26-030.
Hearing no objections to Councilmember Maxwell's proposal to call the question, will the clerk please take a roll call vote on the adoption of ordinance number 26-030?
Stugmeyer?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Hines?
Yes.
Yuracek?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
Maxwell?
Yes.
Ordinance number 26-030 has been adopted.
Ordinance number 26-031 on second reading, sponsored by Councilmember Chris Maxwell and discussed at Public Ways. An ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service to advertise for, receive bids, and award contracts for the 2026 Sidewalk Improvement Program and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I move that we place ordinance number 26-031 on third reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Ordinance number 26-031 has been placed on third reading.
Ordinance number 26-032 on second reading, sponsored by Councilmember Tom Stugmeyer, discussed at Public Service. An ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service to advertise for and receive bids and enter into a contract for the tree trimming and tree removal for electric lines clearance and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I make a motion to suspend the 3 reading rule on ordinance number 26-032.
Second.
Hines?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Yuracek?
Yes.
Maxwell?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
Stugmeyer?
Yes. Mr. President, I call the question on ordinance number 26-032.
Hearing no objection to Councilmember Stugmeyer's proposal to call the question, will the clerk please take a roll call vote on the adoption of ordinance number 26-032?
Berger?
Yes.
Hines?
Yes.
Yuracek?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Maxwell?
Yes.
Berger? Or Stugmeyer?
Yes.
Ordinance number 26-032 has been adopted.
Ordinance number 26-033 on second reading, sponsored by Councilmember Zach Berger and discussed at Public Service. An ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract with Andretz for the rebuild of the aqua screen at the city's wastewater treatment plant and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend the 3 reading rule on ordinance number 26-033.
Second.
Berger?
Yes.
Stugmeyer?
Yes.
Yuracek?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Maxwell?
Yes.
Hines?
Yes.
Mr. President, I call the question on ordinance number 26-033.
Hearing no objection to Councilmember Berger's proposal to call the question, will the clerk please take a roll call vote on the adoption of ordinance number 26-033?
Reese?
Yes.
Hines?
Yes.
Maxwell?
Yes.
Yuracek?
Yes.
Stugmeyer?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
Ordinance number 26-033 has been adopted.
Ordinance number 26-035 on second reading, sponsored by Councilmember Jeannie Hines and discussed at Economic Development and Planning. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a cooperative agreement for the public infrastructure improvements with the Medina County Port Authority and Addison Wadsworth LLC and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend the three reading rule on ordinance number 26-035.
Second?
Yuracek?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Maxwell?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
Stugmeyer?
Yes.
And Hines.
Yes. Mr. President, I call the question on ordinance number 26-035.
Hearing no objection to Councilmember Hines' proposal to call the question, will the clerk please take a roll call vote on the adoption of ordinance number 26-035?
Maxwell?
Yes.
Hines?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
Stugmeyer?
Yes.
Yuracek?
Yes.
And Reese.
Yes.
Ordinance number 26-035 has been adopted.
Ordinance number 26-036 on second reading, sponsored by Council Member, and there's a correction here, Mike Reese, and discussed at Economic Development and Planning, and it was forwarded by the Planning Commission. There is a public hearing scheduled for April 7th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. in council chambers. An ordinance to rezone dual jurisdiction lots number 10232-10235 to Shadow Creek Planned Unit Development and to adopt zoning regulations for the Shadow Creek PUD District and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I move that we place ordinance number 26-036 on third reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Ordinance number 26-036 has been moved to third reading.
Ordinance number 26-037 on second reading, sponsored by Council Member Mike Reese and discussed at Committee of the Whole. An ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service to advertise for and receive bids and enter into a contract for city street sweeping and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I move that we place ordinance number 26-037 on third reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Ordinance number 26-037 has been placed on third reading.
And our last one is ordinance number 26-039, sponsor on second reading, sponsored by Councilmember John Yuracek and discussed at Committee of the Whole. An ordinance to make a supplemental appropriation of $1,550,000 in the 425 General Capital Improvement Fund for purposes other than personal services for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2026, and to declare an emergency.
Mr. President, I move that we place ordinance number 26-039 on third reading.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No. Hines.
Hines
Maxwell.
and Maxwell.
Ordinance number 26-039 has been placed on third reading. That concludes all of our legislation. Is there anything from the administration? Anything else? Anything from council? Mr. Stugmeyer?
Just want to wish the Lady Grizzlies, they're in the Final Four. They're heading back down to Columbus. It was 10 years ago.
Dayton.
In Dayton, I'm sorry, down to Dayton, 10 years ago that they won their last state championship, and they'll be playing Princeton this Thursday at 6. They have the 6 o'clock game, and then the state final game will be, again, if they make it that far, it will be at 8:30 on Saturday evening, again at the University of Dayton. So go Grizzlies.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd also like to wish the wrestlers good luck as well. We, I think, 5 wrestlers that are going, 4 or 5 going to state this year as well. So wish the wrestling team good luck and congratulations.
Anybody else? I will then entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
We are adjourned.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.